Maybe I was the first to sign up.
I swear I saw him.
Good evening. I'm going to call to order the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for September the 19th. We do have a quorum present. The first item on the agenda is to consider the minutes of the September 5th, 2023 meeting. If there are no additions or corrections, may I have a motion, please?
Move to approve.
Motion by Karen,
Second.
second by Aram. Is that right, Aram?
Yes.
Did you click?
Now I did.
Thank you. Vote now. Motion passes 7-0. The first of our three public hearings this evening, the first one is a consideration of a zone change from agricultural open space district to light industrial district on 3.974 acres out of the P. Harmonson survey, abstract number 604, located on the southeast corner of State Highway 121 Business and West Vista Ridge Mall Drive, as requested by Hawkeye Realty Schreiber, LP, the property owner.
Good evening, Commission. A quick correction on this item, that it is 4.29 acres. The notices that went out did say 4.29 and the staff memo as well. This was just missed on the agenda itself. So this property is on one of the southern gateways into Lewisville. It's part of a tract that is a portion of is in the city of Capel and a larger portion is in the city of Lewisville. The city council did approve an interlocal agreement to help facilitate an industrial development for this property earlier this year. The applicant is looking to rezone it light industrial, which would be the required zoning for any industrial development. The Lewisville 2025 plan designates this as an employment center, and this is in an area with a lot of industrial developments. Because of this, staff has no objection to the zone change request. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, John. Commissioners, any questions, discussion before I open the public hearing?
I have a question for staff. On the remainder of the area to the south and to the confluence of 121 Business and 121, what's the current zoning on that?
So directly south of this, that is in the city of Capel. I believe it's highway commercial per their zoning, which is similar to our light industrial zoning.
Thank you.
Anything else? Anyone else?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. Okay, at this time, I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please come forward, sign in, state your name, and we'll be happy to hear from you.
Yeah, hello, my name is Robert Payne. I live at 3520 Drexel Drive in Dallas, Texas. I'm the principal of Hawkeye Realty Schreiber, LP, and the applicant. And this gentleman pretty much said a lot of the things that I was going to say. One thing I want to point out, though, that the portion of this property that lies in Capel is actually zoned light industrial. We were able to get that at light industrial, even though the rest of the area, as you well pointed out, is highway commercial. So as a result, if the P&Z approves this application and the city council, then the entirety of the property, both in Capel and in Lewisville, will all be light industrial, and of course it'll be developable as a single unit with the interlocal. And of course, as this gentleman pointed out, this the area, we actually own another piece of property across the street that's already zoned light industrial, about 6 acres, that's currently under contract. The 2 acres that we owned on the east side across the street from Vista Ridge Mall Drive was sold to Prologis, which is of course light industrial. So all the land we used to own basically is light industrial. So for that reason, we're asking for the light industrial zoning.
Oh, so you want for the continuity of it?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, all right.
Do you have any questions for me?
Commissioners?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Having no one else come forward, now I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, any discussion? Okay, then, motion by Karen. Second by Francis. Vote now. Motion passes 7-0.
Commissioners, this item will appear on the agenda of the City Council on Monday, October the 16th, 2023, at 7:00 p.m., where they will hold a second public hearing and make a final decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, the next public hearing is a consideration of a zone change from single-family residential district to Old Town Mixed Use 1 district on approximately .1757 acres, being a portion of Lot 2, Block A, LM Keeley's addition, located at 238 Samuel Street, as requested by Natasha DeHart, Mac Apartments LLC, the applicant and property owner.
Good evening, Commissioners. The subject property is located on the south side of Samuel Street between Milton and South Charles Street within the Old Town Design District. The property is currently zoned single-family residential 7.5, and there's a single-family home located on the property. The adjacent properties to the east and west are vacant lots zoned Old Town Mixed Use 1, and then to the south, there's another single-family home zoned single-family R 7.5. To the north, across Samuel Street, is the Bent Distilling Company, which is owned Old Town Mixed Use 2. There is no immediate change in use or alterations intended for the property, although using the structure for office space has been considered. The Old Town Mixed Use 1 zoning district is intended to accommodate single and two-family residential uses and infill development within the neighborhood surrounding downtown Lewisville. The zone change would allow for more flexible setbacks and eliminate the maximum lot coverage. Staff finds this request consistent with the Old Town Master Plan's recommended zoning for the area, as well as the Lewisville 2025 Vision Plan's big move for Old Town. Staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend the approval of the zone change from single-family residential to Old Town Mixed Use 1 zoning district. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Be Lexi. There any questions for staff on this before I open up the public hearing? No? Okay. Thank you. Okay, I will go ahead now and open the public hearing on this item. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please come forward, state your name, sign in, and we'll be happy to hear from you. Having no one come forward, I will go ahead now and close the public hearing. Any discussion, Commissioners, before we vote? If not, then may I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve
Motion to approve the zone change.
the zone change.
Yeah, I've got Francis on here. You want to second it for me?
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, motion by Francis, second by Rick. Vote now. You beat you to it. Motion passes 7-0.
Commissioners, this item will appear on the City Council agenda on Monday, October the 16th, 2023, at 7:00 p.m., where they will hold a second public hearing and make a final decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, and the third and final public hearing is the consideration of a zone change from single-family residential district to Old Town Mixed Use 2 district on approximately .4702 acres, legally described as lots 9 and 10, Block 3 of the O.B. Dick subdivision, located at 425 and 433 Edwards Street, as requested by William P. Wedge, the applicant and property owner.
425 and 433 Edward Street are located between South Edna and Cowan Avenues within the Old Town Design District. The properties are currently zoned single-family residential 7.5, and there's a single-family home located on each. The adjacent properties to the north, south, and west are also single-family homes, zone 7.5, and to the east, there's a property with a single-family home zoned Old Town Mixed Use 2 and a building for sale zoned local commercial. The Old Town Mixed Use 2 zoning district is intended to accommodate a wide range of medium and higher density residential infill development, as well as office, service, and retail uses that enhance the traditional development pattern of downtown Lewisville and the surrounding neighborhoods. If approved, the property owner intends to build townhomes on the properties. This is consistent with the neighborhood development pattern as 450 Edward Street as well as 421 South Cowan Street, which abuts the property, have also been rezoned to Old Town Mixed Use 2 to facilitate townhome development. Additionally, 6 two-story townhomes have been developed within the neighborhood at 450 South Edna Street. Staff finds this request consistent with the Old Town Master Plan's recommended zoning for the area, as well as the Lewisville 2025 Vision Plan's big move for diverse and thriving neighborhoods. Staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of the zone change from single-family residential to Old Town Mixed Use 2 zoning district as set forth in the caption above.
Okay, thank you, Lexi. Did I hear you say these are going to be 6 stories?
Say that again, ma'am?
Did I hear you say these are going to be 6-story townhomes?
No, ma'am. Right across the block at Edna and Edward, there's already 6 two-story townhomes built.
Oh, 6
But
two-story.
the applicant
Got
just
it.
intends to rezone to build townhomes in the future.
Okay,
Yeah, no building plans have been seen yet.
all right, thank you. I thought I may have misheard.
My
Okay, any questions for staff before I open the public hearing? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing for this item. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please come forward, sign in, state your name, and we'll be happy to hear from you. Having no one come forward, I'll go ahead now and close the public hearing. Commissioners, if there is no discussion on this item, I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion is by Aram. Second. Second by Rick. Vote now. Motion passes 7-0.
Commissioners, this item will appear on the city council agenda on Monday, October the 16th, 2023 at 7:00 p.m., where they will hold a second public hearing and make a final decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda for the Planning and Zoning Commission this evening is adjournment. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Motion is by Francis, second by Jack. Vote now. Planning and zoning is adjourned. The next items on our agenda for this evening is to open up the Overlay District Board. The board does have a quorum, and we're called to order at this time. The first item is to consider the minutes of the August 1st, 2023 Overlay District Board meeting. If there are no additions or corrections, may I have a motion, please?
Move to approve.
Motion by Karen,
Second.
second by Aram. Vote now. Motion passes 7-0. Tonight, we're going to be considering 2 alternative standards associated with an architectural standards and building envelope standards for St. Marina Church on approximately 3.26 acres located at 2525 MacArthur Boulevard, legally described as the Dallas Teachers Credit Union Edition, Lot 1, Block A, Zoned Light Industrial District, as requested by Awad Askander of Paradigm Consulting on behalf of St. Marina Coptic Orthodox Church, the property owner.
Overlay Board. The building at 2525 MacArthur Boulevard was previously a credit union. The applicant is looking to convert this credit union into a Marina Coptic Orthodox Church. They're requesting 2 alternative standards in association with these changes. The first change is to allow 100% cement stucco in lieu of the required 80% brick or stone. They're looking to adopt a building style of the traditional church architecture, which does not meet the requirements of the I-35 overlay. Staff has no objections to this alternative standard. This will need to be a recommendation to the city council to approve this alternative standard. The second alternative standard is to allow a building height of 15 feet 10 inches in lieu of the required 20-foot first floor building height. This is a requirement because they are making an addition to the front of the church. And whenever you're making any changes to the footprint of the building, they all have to meet the structural requirements of the I-35 overlay. Staff has no objection to this as the existing building was 15 feet 10 inches, and it meets the architectural style of this church. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have regarding this.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions for staff?
Do you have photos of the existing structure?
I am happy to pull some up.
No, not, did you ever pull it up? No, okay.
So it's a fairly large change from what exists today
Oh, wow.
and what they are proposing.
Bank going.
Jonathan, while you're doing that, what's the square footage of the proposed?
It's under 10% of the total building area. I do not know the actual square footage of the current building or what it will be with, it looks like the alteration is a little over 1,000 square feet. So if we want.
According to the Denton Appraisal District, the existing building is about 10,184 square feet.
Thank you, that gives me an idea of the scale.
Yeah, that's helpful for me as well.
Okay, any discussion or questions?
Will they
Karen.
lose some of the, obviously, they'll lose some of that front parking, and that won't be an issue with that addition?
I'm not, so here's the site plan. So they are losing some of the front, but there's a lot of parking on site for this. As far as the parking standard of our overlay board, it's just, of the overlay district, it's just 1 per 300.
Like they're just losing that one row?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you, John.
Thank you.
I wonder where the bank is going.
Okay, at this time, if there is no further discussion, I would entertain a motion on this item.
Motion to approve the alternative standards.
Second.
Motion is by Rick, second by Francis. Vote now. Motion passes 7-0.
Board members, this item will appear on the city council agenda on Monday, October the 16th, 2023 at 7:00 p.m., where they will consider this item and make a final decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, the next item on the overlay district board is adjournment. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Francis,
Second?
second by Jack. Vote now. Motion passes 7-0. Overlay district board is adjourned.
Donated a small box trailer to a band.
And the final item this evening is for the Transportation Board. I will now call to order the Transportation Board and announce we do have a quorum. And the first item of business is to consider the minutes of the December 6, 2022 meeting. If there are no additions or corrections, may I have a motion, please?
Move to approve.
Motion by Karen,
Second.
second by Rick. Vote now. Motion passes 7-0. We have two items for consideration tonight for the Transportation Board. The first one is the consideration of an amendment to Chapter 15, Article 4, Section 15-126 of the Lewisville City Code regarding parking restrictions on the south side of Samuel Street from 120 feet west of the center line of Lanyard Drive to 180 feet east of the center line of Lanyard Drive, and make a recommendation to the City Council regarding the amendment.
Good evening, board members. The Samuel Street is a narrow street and there are newly constructed townhouses over there. Most of the front yard are pavement concrete, and because of the tight angles when our garbage trucks or any delivery trucks tries to go through these narrow streets, they usually sometimes go over residents' property and make damage to the property owner pavement concrete because they are not with the same level of the construction with the road. They are usually more prone to, and we had a complaint from one of our residents that sent these pictures and other pictures to us that shows the tire track for the trucks that go over their property and has damaged their property. So the solution that we came up was prohibiting parking in that extent of Samuel Street that will provide enough room for large vehicles to, this is a PowerPoint, large vehicles to make turns without entering the property of our residents.
Okay.
I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Was there only one resident that brought this to your attention?
Yes, but I visited the place myself with one of our colleagues, made the measurements, and it was a public concern over there, but the complaint that was sent to the engineering department and the city management was from one of our residents.
Okay.
So the parking that we're going to eliminate on the street, do the residents, is that where they park their cars though, along this street? You know, a lot of times people park on the streets and because they have parking in the back or, you know, they have multiple cars. I mean, are they going to now have nowhere to park once this goes?
They have room in front of their townhouses to park the vehicle. There are also other locations that are not tight. This section was specifically too narrow. That's why we only recommended for this short distance of parking. Still in other area, the length of the Samuel Street and Yates Street, the parking is allowed and they can park the vehicles. And this tightness was not in the whole area. While we were there, we didn't hear any objection from residents. We talked to a few other people over there. As I said, they had some concerns, and we didn't hear any objection to the, and we tried to, we informed our police department about the issue, public services department, so we have been looking at that issue for a while, and we have not heard any objection back. I hear your concerns sometimes in this, it's not a multi-family area, it's a townhome, but still we should think about the parking for visitors, guests in the area.
So would all those residents along there have received notice about the hearing, about the change? They would have all gotten something saying that we're considering a change?
I don't believe that they have been informed about the hearing over here.
Okay.
I think it's because it's on a public street, probably.
It's a public street, yes.
Oh, okay.
It's not the property or it's not in the community street. It's a public street that was there even before construction of those townhouses.
Okay.
So out of curiosity, are these generally being used currently, these parking spaces? Is that why the truck is having trouble turning?
Yes, sometime even one vehicle parking over there, it makes the trouble for those turns. And as I said, it's more, sometimes we also talk to public services and our garbage collection contractor to be more mindful of their driver and remind them about not entering private properties when they are making turns in this area. But still, we even did the maneuver with one of our trucks, and it's almost impossible to make a turn and make those maneuvers when there is a car parked over there.
So is it specifically Lanyard and South Village
Yes.
terminations where they're having trouble?
Yes, the main problem is with the Lanyard and Samuel Street.
And is trash pickup once a week or multiple times a week?
I believe it's once a week in the city of Lewisville.
Once a week?
Once a week.
Yes,
Do you know the day? Is it,
I cannot remember. I believe it's on Fridays. Yes, we discussed it. It's on Fridays.
so is the current plan to just paint these and put signage up to not promote
It's not
parking?
gonna be painted. It's one sign that says parking from here to here.
Would there be any option to keep it Monday through Thursday versus Friday?
We can make it timely basis, definitely. As far as they don't change the garbage collection, we should talk to public services. And it's not only about public services, there is other trucks. We have the fire trucks, emergency vehicles, delivery trucks that go through these streets. If we thought about making it a timely basis, like only on Fridays, but it's not only about the garbage trucks. It's also about the other vehicles. That's why we didn't do it as a only Friday.
Yeah, I mean, generally, you're right, the trash pickup is similar to a fire truck, so I'm assuming this doesn't really have an outlet, though, on Samuel, does it? Samuel dead ends, is that into that triangular lot? You can't access South Mill Street.
It actually connects to the alley, which is right behind Awesome Center. You basically, if you're heading eastbound on Samuel, you make a hard left going northward up the alley. So it's not like it's a dead end. It does transition into an alleyway going northward.
And so the fire lane is in fact South Village and or Lanyard, is that accurate?
Yes.
So without zooming in, it sounds as though the townhomes are so close to the property there, and it's a 20-foot driveway, I'm guessing? And they're
Yes.
basically clipping a 20-foot radius there with the truck into the driveway portion?
That's correct.
I've just got a couple questions. In terms of just, I think this may be a clarification of an earlier point. On the area to the south between Samuel and Houston, is there any demand for parking of those land uses
So
on
we
this road?
didn't have specifically, so this resident that was complaining, her house was on the corner of Samuel and Lanyard, but we have similar condition on other sections, but we didn't get any complaints specifically for those locations.
But the land
That's-
use on, north of Houston, if this is a north-south image, those land uses aren't generating traffic that or generating business that requires parking on that road.
That is correct. They have on-site parking and they typically have one or two cars at a time.
Okay,
You have the
So,
US Post Office and the Verizon.
thank you for the
Center.
clarification. The other question is, in road situations with the geometries that are limited like this, oftentimes the actual structural characteristics of the road is limited as well. Is the road rated to carry traffic that's gonna be made more accessible with this? You know, is it asphalt or is it a standard concrete cross-section? Is there anything special about the cross-section?
I'm not sure about the material, if it's concrete or asphalt at the moment, but about the cross-section, I think this is an old street that I'm not sure about the history.
I can answer that
Is it-
question. It was reconstructed when South Village was created, so it is I think it was constructed in about 2015, about 8 years ago. It is a concrete curb and gutter section, but it's just a narrower cross section. It's not the standard 31-foot back-to-back. I believe it's 28 or 22.
22.
But it is designed to carry normal trash truck traffic and large truck delivery and so forth.
Some of the alleys aren't, so, or things that look like alleys sometimes don't have that capacity. Last question that I have is, by doing this, are we setting up some sort of expectation in other parts of the community to provide this for an area that, you know, there may have been an expectation that we could have projected to say, no, this thoroughfare is going to bear this type of traffic, and therefore we need to have the setback. As for the need right here, I don't have a problem with it, but I also don't want to inadvertently do anything that says we pitted ourselves into a corner and now we need to get our way out of it.
I see your point, sir, about the precedence in these requests. There may be a lot of your concerns, and we have these a lot in traffic issues. You install one sign somewhere and the neighbor sees it and they want the same in different places. It happens a lot, and we discussed the precedence of the issue, but because this is a unique situation and it was a legit request and complaint, that's why we decided to recommend it to the respected board.
Yeah, I mean, we just heard prior to this, everyone's, redeveloping, they're gonna propose more townhomes.
Right.
We're gonna run into similar issues potentially. Do you mind going back to the photo of the issue with the tire tracks? I'm having trouble understanding where the property line is, potentially just based on this lot diagram. Where does their property line start and stop? Because based on what I'm seeing on my screen, the lot lines appear to be pulled back. Is a lot of that pavement part of the right-of-way?
So this is the property line over here, and this is the front yard
Okay,
pavement
so,
marking, and it's here their garage door to the townhouse.
So you're saying the curved line is a property line,
the
Yes.
radius,
that joint?
that joint,
Yes.
radius joint, okay.
And you can see the trash truck over here. I'm not sure if it can be seen in the monitors, but she has taken the photo at the moment that the truck was passing. So it was a inevitable evidence. We couldn't deny it.
Do we have a street view of this? Is this too recently built, constructed to where there's no current street view?
In the Google view, street view, it's the old without the townhouses, because townhouses, when they were built, 2019, or do you know about?
Yeah, they were built primarily 2015 through about 2020. And actually, the last couple of units have just been completed.
So it appears that this is more of a area of convenience, that it's all paved, therefore these trucks are taking very much concern for how aggressively they're turning. If there was a curb there, or a large rock or some other structure, they would be more mindful of making the correct turn.
That's true.
Or
Okay.
maybe, could they make the turn?
Yeah,
If-
that's the next question. That's
Yeah.
why I was curious of street view.
With the parked vehicle and having curbs over there, I really doubt it.
Okay.
With our measurements and simulation that we did with the car parked, no.
Too tight, okay. So by eliminating the parking, is the parking on both sides of the street currently?
No,
or
no, it's on the south side of the street only.
Okay, so they can make the wider sweeping turn.
Yes.
It allows them to make a wider sweeping turn, but that still doesn't solve the issue of whether they will or won't, right?
Yes, you are totally correct, and we try to convey this information to our public services department and our contractor, and with email, with phone, and tell them that we have this problem. We try this on our side, and please ask your contractor to be mindful to and respect residents' property.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, thank you. All right, if there is no further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
Okay. Move to limit the parking as recommended by staff.
Okay, motion is by Rick,
Second.
second by Karen. Vote now. Everybody voted? All right. There we go. Motion passes 7-0. The next item for the Transportation Board is the consideration of an ordinance amending the Lewisville City Code, Chapter 15, Article 2, Sections 15 to 35, which is the maximum speed limits on specific streets, establishing a speed limit of 35 miles an hour on North Summit Avenue from 200 feet south of the Canadian Pacific Kansas City Railroad crossing to FM 407, and make a recommendation to the City Council regarding the amendment.
Board members, the city of Lewisville made a comprehensive and extensive studies regarding the travel demand on the Summit Avenue in this area. And they suggested a road diet over here for two reasons. Because of the demand of the apartment complexes that we have, there is a demand for parking, and also because of the not having enough projection for the traffic in the future. So the city of Lewisville implemented pavement marking over here for parking spots and narrowed the travel lane to one lane on each direction. So right now we have 2 travel lanes and 2 parking lanes, meaning 1 parking lane and 1 travel lane on each direction. So based on these new evidence and the measurement of the speed that we did and the speed study, and in order to lower the chance of accident and traffic over here, we came up, the existing speed limit right now on Summit Avenue is 40 miles per hour, which is a little high. We made the measurements of the speed study, and the 85 percentile speed was about 40 miles per hour. The latest measurement that we did last week on one direction, the 85 mile percentile was 40 miles per hour in one direction and 37 on the other direction. So based on this evidence and the condition which is existence of the on-street parking, narrowing the street, we recommended to lower the speed limit to 35 miles per hour. We also used this software. It's a software developed by Federal Highway Administration, FHWA, that is designed to for suggesting appropriate speed limit in different roadways based on the geometry and the specifications of the road. So the software almost uses the same data that we considered. Instead of having the engineering judgment, it also uses this data. It considers the number of travel lanes, existing 50 percentile speed, 85 percentile speed, number of crashes, and existence of on-street parking, the land use around the road. So all this data goes as an input to this software, and it gives the recommended speed. And the software recommended speed was 35 miles per hour. So I recommend considering changing the speed limit in this section only of the Summit Avenue, which is one lane travel lane in each direction, from south of the railroad to FM 407 Justin Road, to be 35 miles per hour.
Okay.
I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Commissioners, discussion?
I've got a couple of questions. In terms of the average speed, was that something that was done just recently, or is this an observation over time for year round?
We did the pavement marking, updated the pavement marking about 1 month ago. 1.5 months ago, maybe 40, 50 days ago, and we did 2. So 2 weeks after the pavement marking update, we made the measurement. The speed, the 85 percentile speed, which is our mark for speed limit, the 85 percentile was between 40 and 42 in one direction and 40 on the other direction. Last week, to make sure, I asked my colleagues to go out and make another observation, because it takes for people to digest the change and consider the changes, and also installed some new signs to make people aware about the new condition and change in the traffic pattern. Right now, we have installed 8 or 9 signs over there in that short distance to inform people about the new traffic, narrowing traffic, keeping the left. So all these actions was resulted in that the latest speed limit study that we did, 85 percentile was 40 on one direction and 37 on the other direction. But if you consider the chance of the on-street parking, people get off the vehicle, they have groceries, and also in this report, it has mentioned that unfortunately, in past 3 years, there has been 15 accidents on Summit Avenue. That's a really high ratio for a short period of road with such a low traffic. So I am looking at Summit Avenue because of the geometry to bring down even maybe further. But at the moment, I believe this change in this section is necessary to make the road safer.
If you could go back to the graphic, the image points out to me that it may be used at sometimes as an alternative to 35 north-south. And so that your averages are interesting, because if somebody is taking it as an alternate route, they may be driving a little bit faster. Do we know what the plans are for the land to the 35 area of this road? And because my next question would be additional traffic calming devices like bulbs and roundouts to kind of encourage people to understand that this is a area of, not a straightaway, it's an area of slower speeds.
Yes, in those studies, they have considered this, that because they make the measurement of the traffic counts, they count all the traffic, they consider the future growth, and also they consider any vacant land to be built to based on the zoning and what trip generation it will make. And two well-known consultants came up with the result that there is not traffic demand for two travel lanes on each direction. So definitely and actually those studies was done before I joined the city of Lewisville, and the first that they brought up the idea to me, I was a little hesitant, and I went through the studies, and they were very comprehensive and well studied, that convinced me to follow up this idea.
As far as the proposed land uses on the east side of Summit, south of 407, that 25 acres is owned by the city of Lewisville. The city is working with a developer who we are envisioning that as a commercial mixed-use development, primarily retail, restaurant, medical uses, office, that sort of thing. No residential, but it is expected to have over 25 acres, quite a bit of traffic generation. And you will be seeing that planned development zoning here in the near future.
Would you need, because of that potential development, would you need the opportunity to pull back to have two travel lanes?
We will have to once that concept is finalized, we will have to kind of analyze everything, again at that point to see, if any adjustments need to be made to Summit to accommodate that development, depending on where the entry points are and where the different uses are located as well.
And just a little bit of history, Summit was initially developed with anticipating all of this area being an industrial warehouse distribution type area, and was built as 2 lanes with that development pattern in mind. That vision changed after the 2025 plan, and in 2015 when we adopted a different plan development for the area, and that's when we sort of started looking at, well, maybe Summit could be reduced in its width if it's going to be more of a residential mixed use type area.
Something else to note too, that there is a great deal of open space kind of intermingled amongst the various developments, particularly the residential developments. In fact, the city partnered with the developers in that area to construct hike and bike trails on both sides. So with the parks and the trails, we expect a great deal of pedestrian activity once the area gets closer to building out. So traffic calming makes a lot of sense in this area to protect not only the current pedestrians, but the future pedestrians that we expect in this area.
Thank you.
So what I need to point out is all these developments that in future has been considered in those studies, and all we have done are pavement marking. No change to the geometry, no change to the pavement curve, nothing. It's only pavement marking that can be eliminated based on the condition, but we consider the development of multi-use as we have made enough turn bays and right lanes to make sure it can accommodate. So if you have any concerns, and I totally understand about the uncertainty of the future, if you want to eliminate those parkings, that's just like one-day job. We send out a contractor to eliminate the pavement parking. So this agenda over here is about lowering the speed, which, as I mentioned before, because of the existence of the parking and the high rate of the accident, the recommendation of staff is lowering the speed limit to 35 miles per hour.
To tag on to what he was talking about, I have a concern, drove through there with the parking, taking away the lane and now having the parking spots. Is there a consideration for protecting those parking spots? Because I foresee somebody coming along through there that's not driven there in a while, and they're still thinking it's 2 lanes because people don't read the signs, and all of a sudden they're plowing into a line of parked cars. I mean, particularly because they're not paying attention because they're going too fast.
Yep. They're texting.
Text,
They're
exactly.
texting.
Yeah, I mean, is there some considerations
Especially
for
with
that to happen?
Kilo being there and student drivers.
Right, student drivers too in the area. There's, I know that there's a lot of ways to calm that and protect those, bump outs, bollards, whatever we could put in there to
Roundabouts.
mark those parking spots a little more clearly. Because you cross the railroad track and suddenly there's parking. Whoops. Yeah, so is there consideration for some of that?
Consideration of change regarding any bump outs to the change to the curb and to the pavement, it's not in the vision right now. But what we try to do is we try to use the hatching marks and using the signs and directing the traffic even before entering that section to bisect the road and divide them to the right lane and the left lane. And I noticed that I have been visiting there multiple times. I have been spent like hours sitting in my car, and it was like in the heat peak of the Texas. And I noticed that at the beginning there were a lot of drivers that they drove all over on the pavement markings, and we received many calls, not many calls, but we received a few calls from residents that what's going on over here and asking about what happened over here and what was the change. Although we tried to inform them beforehand with the signs and flashers, and we took out those LED monitors that we have for the traffic to inform about the change in the traffic. But the latest visit that I had was last Friday, and during the 1 hour stay that I was there, I didn't see any vehicles travel on the pavement marking. And actually on one side, two vehicles were parked. Very surprising to me. So people are understanding it, and it takes time. And because of as the respected member mentioned, because of the uncertainty of future, we don't want to change the pavement marking and the curb and the geometry of the area. In future, we may think of adding a bike lane and changing it to a complete street project for a blue ribbon, but not at the moment. We have not considered it.
What brought about this change or this request for to reduce the speed limit? Did something occur besides the crashes, and did we get a lot of
Do you mind
complaints?
if I interject real quick? Because I think stepping back, the request is about the speed limit, but I think we're all talking about when did the markings occur, right? When did it go from 4 lanes to 2?
Yes.
When did that happen?
About 1.5 months ago.
Okay.
Yes. Now it's one travel lane on each side. So about the speed limit, why we decided to recommend and to lower the speed limit is because of the change in the traffic pattern over there and the geometry. Because we used to have 2 12-lane roads. Now we have only one on each side, 1 lane. And we have on-street parking that in any moment, one driver may open the door. One child may get off on the street and step out. Although in the design, I tried to create a 4 feet buffer from the parking. So from the parking lot First of all, parking lots are marked individually. I didn't want just to paint it as a general. I tried to limit the parking spots to make sure that's your spot, you should stay here. And then I added 4 feet buffer lane to that, so to keep it further from the travel vehicles. So this reason we decided to recommend lowering the speed to 35 miles per hour after we did the pavement marking and the road diet.
If I could add to that, I think just the overall transition of the overall area from future industrial uses to more of a walkable urban village. We have been gradually implementing different measures to protect pedestrians that traffic is growing in that area. And as more pedestrians come in and more retail and restaurant uses come in, getting these measures in ahead of time before all of that population arrives is just prudent so that the traveling public gets used to that. The slower speeds will make it safer for the pedestrians. The parking also goes along to calm that traffic in that area because it's the wider the street is, the more prone people are to go faster. So again, it's just really going on into the transition of the land uses in that area to more of a more walkable environment, similar to what we have here in Old Town.
I only have one more comment. Are there sidewalks on both sides of the street currently, or just the south side?
Mainly on both sides, we have sidewalks with ADA ramps.
Okay, so they are functional, the parallel spaces are functional on both sides, they have access to a sidewalk?
Yes, pretty newly constructed and are functional.
Okay.
I just wanted to add one more item, in terms of calling the question. I don't think there's an issue. I just want to thank staff for creativity in incorporating, whether it's temporary or permanent, things like the bulbs and the bump outs, perhaps even the use of heavy planters to temporarily transition from one area to the next. But that doesn't go to the point of the item, but I just wanted to put that on record.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, any discussion on this item?
I don't think any of us have a problem with reducing the speed here.
Okay, all right, well, then I will entertain a motion, please.
Motion to approve as presented.
The motion is by Francis. Second. Second by Aram. Vote now. Motion passes 7-0. And the final item for this evening is adjournment of the Transportation Board. May I have a motion, please?
Moved.
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Karen.
Second.
Second by Jack. Vote now. Motion passes 7-0. We are adjourned.